Guess what, everybody? Some bad news here. The economy in Iran is imploding. So Reuters reports, Iran currency extends a record fall as U.S. sanctions loom. Now, this article was from yesterday. I've been informed that as of today, it's getting even worse. So let me explain here. They say Iran's currency hit a new record low on Sunday, dropping past 100,000 rials to the U.S. dollar as Iranians brace for August 7th when Washington is due to reimpose a first lot of economic sanctions. On August 7th, Washington will reimpose sanctions on Iran's purchase of U.S. dollars, its trade in gold and precious metals, and its dealing with metals, coal, and industrial-related software. Sanctions also will be reapplied to U.S. imports of Iranian carpets and foodstuffs and on certain related financial transactions. Iran's oil exports could fall by as much as 2/3 by this year due to sanctions straining oil markets amid supply outages everywhere. Okay. I'm telling you ahead of time, but there's about to be some massive political instability in Iran. And this is the cause. So you have, the U.S. destroying the Iran deal. By the way, the IAEA verified 11 different times that Iran was following that deal. So they held up their end of the bargain. We broke the Iran deal by Congress passing new sanctions when all we had to do under the deal was give them back their own money and not put new sanctions on them. But we did that. Now, they say they were symbolic sanctions, but to me that makes it even dumber because you're violating the deal without even doing anything. Yeah, we are going to say we're violating the deal now. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It makes no sense. So they followed the deal 11 times, verified. We violated the deal. Trump pulls out of the deal. Well, now what lesson did you just send to, not just to Iran, but to the rest of the world? Don't trust the Americans. Even if you do a deal with them and you follow it to a T, they're going to screw you over. That's the lesson. By the way, this is exactly what the far-right theocratic elements in Iran told Hassan Rouhani. Hassan Rouhani is a more moderate president, but the far-right elements told him, don't do it. Don't trust the Americans. They're going to stab you in the back. Hassan Rouhani did the deal, put his neck out there, and now proved the hardliners correct, the right-wingers correct. And like I said, what message does this send to the rest of the world? Don't trust the Americans. So we pull out of the deal. Now we're about to implement more sanctions. And then now, by the way, you're seeing one of the main causes of inflation. Political instability. So political and economic instability leads to inflation. That's what we're seeing here. So you're going to have new sanctions going on Iran. The markets are reacting to that. And of course, Hassan Rouhani tried to do some tricks in order to prop up Iranian currency. But in the process of doing that, a friend of mine who's Iranian told me that's basically bankrupted the country because they tried to prop up the Iranian currency by doing tricks. So now, I'm telling you ahead of time, there's going to be massive political instability there. Now, if they go as far as to try to totally block Iran's oil exports, which looks like that's what they're doing. Listen, they already said in this article, Iran's oil exports could fall by as much as 2/3 by this year due to sanctions, straining oil markets amid supply outages elsewhere. So that already is crippling enough where that's going to lead to such insane political instability that you could have violence, you could have an attempt to overthrow the government, which, by the way, that would be something that Trump and the neocons want. They probably want that. But if Trump goes as far as to just try to block all the oil exports, well, then Iran is put in a position where they have to retaliate because then they're just a country that's going to be fucking starving to death and they're just totally screwed. And then as soon as Iran retaliates, what does the U.S. do? Oh, Iran it did an act of aggression against us. So now it's time, we must take action. And then they could actually try to do regime change, as in, like, let's send the U.S. in there to bomb, or let's try to overthrow the government, whether it's through the CIA or actual ground troops or what have you. And then we're in a clusterfuck beyond all clusterfucks. And then, they want a puppet regime in Iran. That's what they want. That's what they want. And they'll probably, go with somebody related to the Shah. The Shah was the last dictator of Iran. He was a relatively secular dictator. For those of you who don't know the chain of events, you had Mohammad Mossadegh was elected. He was promising to take Iranian oil and let the people of Iran profit from Iranian oil. Previously, the UK and the US took that oil. So he comes in, he says, no, I'm going to help the people of my country. His name was Mohammad Mossadegh. He was overthrown by the CIA in a 1953 coup because we wanted that cheap oil. And then that led to the Shah being implemented. And then in 1979, the Shah was overthrown in an Islamic revolution. So you've had like a theocratic government in Iran since 1979. And then now it looks like we're getting to a boiling point here. That's what it looks like. And, the thing is, when you have a country in political turmoil, an overthrow of the government can go in a number of ways. I mean, you could get an even further right-wing administration in there. I mean, that can happen, especially since Rouhani, who's more moderate, people are looking at him and blaming him for this current situation because he tried the Iran deal. He tried the peace deal with the U.S., and then Trump pulled out of it and stabbed him in the back. So it's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't go more moderate. Maybe we need more hardline. So there's going to be an attempt to get a more hardline regime in there. You can have the people who yearn for the days of the Shah back. They can, end up taking power. It could be some faction that I'm unaware of in Iran. I'm sure there's multiple factions that could grab power that I just don't know about and would have to learn about if/when they take power. But either way, to try to force, regime change like this is beyond dangerous and wrong on principle, because we shouldn't be, for all of our screaming about election interference. Well, what the fuck do you think this is? This is us actively trying to overthrow a country using our power as the world's sole superpower by trying to make their economy collapse, not caring about the innocent civilians who will get hurt in the process, so we can get a regime that's a puppet to us in there. That's the whole point of this. So, but again, you're not going to hear any discussion like this on mainstream media. They're not going to discuss this at all. But this is basically Trump is doing. He's put into place the neocons' wet dream. Netanyahu is sitting there going, yes, this is exactly what I've wanted for the longest time. The Iranian regime looks like it's about to collapse somehow through economic pressure, through political instability, through both of those things, through outside interference. And then you'll know that they're trying for regime change. You will know that if/when they block Iranian oil exports, and then Iran is forced to respond. And then, again, hear me now, quote me later, the second Iran responds, that will be portrayed in U.S. media, and that will be portrayed in Western outlets as a sheer act of aggression from Iran, and not a response to aggression, which indeed is what it is. So, very scary times, because Iran was one of the few relatively stable countries in the region, and then now if you have instability there, oh my goodness. Jesus, man. You want to talk about a refugee crisis? Ha! It's always amazing to me. The U.S. and the West destroy these countries, then people leave because they want asylum, because they're like, shit, my country's destroyed, largely because of what you did. And we're like, we can't take you. Well, then stop fucking destroying countries, dipshit. Stop destroying countries. So, again, you're not going to hear any substantive conversation like this in mainstream media, which is why you come here.